So look, I've done some very real things over the course of my life, and I'm not going to tell you what those are. I'm going to let the Pentagon handle those things. Now let's talk about societal function and societal decay. Societal function, for example, let me say this again. I've made quite a few videos. My family has education systems all around the world. My IQ is very high. I've been homeschooled my entire life. I enjoy learning every single day. And we have these things in place called federal laws. When you go to the hospital, the doctors don't sit there and say, oh, I remember 5 years ago you picked your nose, so I'm going to cut your leg off. Except in some places they do because they want to play church. So when you have a bunch of foreigners come in, or you have a bunch of church-minded people who completely disregard the federal laws, well, they start cutting legs off, which we have an epidemic in a certain city. And I happen to know that because I have a time machine, and I remember how in that time machine when I would fly around all over the place, it was super awesome. And then I came to 2017 and I got on this big computer thing that far surpasses anything Google has, and I was looking at the flow of data, and now we have a problem. So some people like to play church, and church is not sufficient. If you want to play church, then you can get rid of your cell phone, you can get rid of your toilets, you can get rid of your electricity. You can also not go to the hospital for whatever reason. Don't go to the hospital if you're going to play church at all. But for those that enjoy those things, we have societal structure, and you're sent to college to do something. Then Milo came in and ran a test and done something, and of course that was a completely different person than the person he was talking about, but these people thought it was that person, so those people went crazy and done something they weren't supposed to do, and then finally the newspapers caught a hold of it and wrote it in black and white what was going on, and wrote all these things, and wrote dead, which I don't like that, but that's what they put. So, as I told my friend, when you mess with mathematics, but, our hospitals, they do have those pamphlets, and largely it is for the employees more than it is the trustees, because, well, the employees need to be reminded, regardless if you find some sort of test like that and it happens, that you can't listen to gossip and insanity. Or if you peer on someone and you watch like a white man have sex with a black woman, and you have some super hardcore religious type that says mixed breeding is inappropriate, and they decide to chop off a leg. Or, well, you're not making enough money. Imagine the Amish. They're going to be horrified when they find out that the cell phones they have in their hands are going to pull them into all the things that they thought they were hiding from. I mean, the Amish live out in the country, and they used to not even take trains until they thought trains were safe. But I've been doing a lot of traveling, and I have found out Amish not only ride trains, and quite a few of them, but they also have smartphones. And imagine without the homeschooling of education and higher education, that they're not going to know what's going on. So they're carrying smartphones around with them. And they're going to be horrified when they find out what they're pulling themselves into. Meanwhile, we have some people, we put them in an education system. We told them, you are to do these societal functions, and here's these safety nets. You guys are supposed to be obeying those rules. When there's a car accident, you don't get to come in and say, we're going to talk about this. That one is a mixed breeder. That one is gay. That one I hate. I remember I heard they were saying something about me, so I'm going to torture and abuse them. Oh man, if I'd done that all the time, whenever I seen something, I would be blowing up the world right now, and everybody would be charred and hideous walking around, and then somebody would come in and say, God done it because you're all sinners and you have abused a system and you are worthy of this punishment. I don't like any of those things. I like resolves, which is why I want my money. A cop told me to go get my money, and I want my money. And we have some big things to do, while some people, they follow a script in their head and they keep going down the wrong direction and causing all the most horrendous things. Meanwhile, nobody's trying to take away your guns and your ammo But unfortunately, we ran another test, and apparently some people believe that, and they want to hold on to it as some sort of factual whatever to do whatever they want to do. That's what sadists do. They look for some reason to mess you up. And I was talking to a guy the other day. I've been trying to help him. Do you know how I am a professional? Imagine speaking to someone, their teeth are rotting out, they hate you, they're miserable, and snooping around on things. Then they get on some sort of network, and sadists love to go backwards. They don't want to be pushed forwards. They don't want you to try. They don't want to try. Sometimes they lose hope or whatever. I want my money. I shouldn't even be making this video. I shouldn't even be having this conversation. The safety nets failed. The system is hideous, and a large group of people moved out. I'm going to leave because forgiveness is good when people mean it, but when they don't mean it, then that sorry and everything falls on deaf ears. It means nothing. So, and that makes some people angry, but when you get to look top down on everything, you expect people to do more than just say they're sorry. And that's just not going to work. So they absolutely need to be doing more. And I can't stay around it. And I'm not going to be around a bunch of people that make mistakes and then they look for reasons to justify. And that's why all my friends left. That's why these businesses left. That's why some law firms closed down. That's why some other people done some other things. Nobody's trying to take your guns, boom, 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 or your ammo. And the ironic thing is after all that mess, they had decided not to build the gun factory or the ammo factory that they were going to bring in here. And now more businesses are closing down. For whatever reason. It's not a good reason. I don't think it should be closing down, because to me, these businesses closing down is a sign that they are going strictly against all the federal laws, and regardless of all the complexities that we have going on, they're going to go backwards instead of forwards. And I would be horrified right now if we had if this was the time where they had segregated stores like where I'm at right now. There's some white people, then there's some red people who think they're white people, then there's some pink people who think they're white people, then there's some black people, there's some Mexicans, there's some Asians, all different types. So if segregation was going on right now, I would be deathly afraid to have a smartphone in my hand. I would be deathly afraid to be in this city, because all hell would be breaking loose. And it's not just a smartphone. The problems are astronomically huge, and I have a huge problem with that. And that's why I have to stay focused. This law, this thing that I'm fighting for, has to be done. I want my money. It will be an example in vast complexities, and the moment someone comes in and tries to take away from that, or the moment sadists come in and start making jokes out of it, you then increase the sadism in our education systems and in certain populations where things are going to be so out of control that I literally see quite a few people running around today. They have lost limbs. It used to not be that way. So we have a decay in our education system. We have some sort of new excuse. We have intervention. We have people coming in doing all the wrong things. And that's not acceptable at all. While, it's absolutely unacceptable. And I am a professional, because when I deal with people and things, I handle it, even though, like this one person, I would love to punch them in the face, because they're so sadistic that they want to hurt other people, but I keep trying to work with them, and I handle it in a professional way.